keeping us alive now. You can forget about that one. And you keep them coming in. You're doing well, son.
Find us on the web at mbradio.us.
I want to make it clear that the views expressed by our hosts are not considered the official stance of MBR Views. Remember, this is all about having fun and enjoying the ride.
Everyone's expecting. If you know, then well you know. Do as I say, not as I do. Welcome, friends, you know. Unity in all that.
Hey, welcome everybody to Drunk Dudes in a Gun Room, man. I am happy to be here, and I'm happy to tell you all about our sponsors, which is OperationEncore.org. You can go over and check them out. They've got a awesome little donate button. If you're able to help them out, go and help them out. They're doing amazing things for the veterans that are trying to transition into musical careers, between education as well as helping them get set up professionally. Awesome organization. We are also sponsored by Gun Room Radio.
You are not alone. There are so many. It's a mortar attack. Small on fire and RPGs. We don't. He was sitting in the shadows with a gun in his hand and a lifetime of... I know you can remember when all the shows turned off at 12 a.m.
Hey, I'm glad y'all could join me today. So I know there's been quite a few people that have been looking forward to this interview, and it's been some time coming. The day is here. Today we have Derek Stoner. What's going on, Derek?
Hey, man. Not much. How you doing?
Oh, man, I'm doing good. So give everybody a little bit of a background on where Derek Stoner came from.
Sure. Yeah. So I was born and raised in Northwest Missouri, out in the sticks, like farm country. Grew up in a town out town with a super small. It was a great place to live, situated right beside the Missouri River. So obviously,
Great
farming activities, hunting and fishing, and drinking beer. That's kind of what you did. But it was great. I'm married today, 25 years later, to my wife that was from the same area. High school sweetheart. Graduated in a class. I was number 9 of 9. There was only 9 of us. So super small. We played 8-man football. We cruised up and down Main Street at night, back and forth and just burning gas like it was going out of style because it really wasn't that expensive then.
Yeah.
And just I had a really cool childhood that I can't complain about at all.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
So you went in the Army, correct?
I did, yeah.
What made you decide to go in the military?
So I initially joined the Army National Guard, and I believe it was 97. I was a junior in high school, and they had I don't know if they still have it. They probably still do, but there was a thing called the split option. If you were still in high school, just in case anybody doesn't know, you could go to basic training on the school break in the summer of your junior year.
Yep.
Then, of course, you would come back, attend your senior year of school, and then you would go to your advanced AIT, what the Army calls it, advanced individual training for your MOS. And so that's what I did. The reasoning behind that was my wife and I accidentally had a baby. So, needed some cash, you know what I mean? And
I'm with you, man.
I was working a sawmill at the time and trying to finish school. And then, like, okay, what can I do on the weekends? And I'd always loved the armed forces and things like that. But I can't say that I had a plan to join it. I was just kind of floating around, didn't know what I was going to do. So I joined that. And then stayed in that it was about probably 3.5 or 4 years, and until 9/11 happened. And once 9/11 happened, my unit in the Guard, they sent several of us down to the Kansas City International Airport to be like security guards.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure a lot of people can remember that back in the day. After that, you'd go to the airport and there'd be National Guard soldiers along with police and other personnel there. So I did that for 3 or 4 months. And that's when I just decided, like, hey, I want to go active duty and I want to do what I can to help out the cause here. So that's when I went active duty. It was early 2002.
Okay. Yeah. I think a lot of people that happened with a lot of people, and we talk about it in our podcast a lot. There's a different breed between the ones that came after 9/11 and enlisted at that point. Those guys enlisted knowing I'm going to go to war. That's what I'm enlisting for.
Right.
I came in 94, and I came in similar reasons for you. I got married. My wife, we met in 7th grade, and we got married right out of high school. And there's these things called bills with rent and everything else. And, coming right out of high school, not having a great the academic to fall back on, college was not an option.
Yeah.
So I chose the military, man. And I did it, like I said, for the same reason. But, it was a different time back then. There was not any major events going on. We had, the little Desert Storm and stuff like that, occasionally you'd come across a veteran that was over there. But, it wasn't like it is today, where now combat patches are like having a service ribbon. Everybody gets one,
Sure.
And so I think it definitely is a different breed, of people. And my hat's off to all the people that done it. I mean, that was the same thing for you. You going active at that point, you stepped up and said, I want to be in the fight, not maybe in the fight, so yeah, that's awesome, man. So when you came in, what was your MOS?
Well, I was in the Guard, and I was a communications specialist.
Okay.
I don't remember the long term for it. And then I joined active duty as an 11 Bravo,
Okay. Yep.
Just an infantryman grunt.
Yep.
And within a few short months, they had the Army Special Forces had reenacted an old something that they had utilized in the Vietnam War for recruitment, and it was called a lot of people call it like SF Baby, or the 18 X-ray program, I guess would be the legitimate name for it. But anyways, I had orders. I was going to go to Ranger School, and I was supposed to go to Ranger Battalion. And I got down to Fort Benning. I finished infantry training, and then I finished airborne school. And there was a hold. There was like a 2 or 3 month hold on. They just didn't have the slots. There were so many people coming in at the time.
Yeah.
And they're like, hey, you're going to be waiting over here for 3 months so you can even go to Ranger School to suck. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you're trying to go see a concert or something. It's kind of funny, in that sense. But during that time, there was a Special Forces recruiter that was going around. Is like, hey, this is good pickings right here. We got a bunch of infantrymen that at least at this point can, they're in shape because they've been hunted for a lot of weeks in a row. So I ended up signing up for that and went up to North Carolina and started the whole Special Forces program. And that took at the time, it's a lot more streamlined now, but at that time, they assigned me as an 18 Echo, which I hated because that's the communications guy for a Special Forces detachment.
Yeah.
and I just didn't want to do that anymore. I wanted to do something. I wanted to play with guns, which I'm sure you can appreciate there sitting in the gun room.
Yep.
But either way, they're like, no, you already know radios. You're going to do this. And so that took me 2 years to get through that before I got assigned to, the Special Forces regiment that I was in, and our group, not regiment. And I got assigned to 5th Special Forces Group in Fort Campbell, Kentucky in early 2004, and spent about a week or two on the ground situating my family, and it was sandbox ever since, until 2022.
Yeah. This war it really transformed the way the military operated, and it never hit me until I was talking with Robert DePrado. I don't know if you know him. He just retired, but he came in basic training with a SF contract. So basic training,
18 X-ray program.
Yeah. And so he literally spent 20 years from basic training to retirement as a Green Beret. And I'm just like, man, that just blows my mind. Because when I came in, you had to be a PFC to even think about going, and it wasn't as easy to even get to that point,
Right.
They were extremely strict, and I get why. I mean, it was the same way with the 160th. We went from a volunteer unit to a DA select unit because they just couldn't get the people to fill the spots. But so I definitely do get it. But man, it just blows my mind to hear somebody that came from basic training all the way to the end of retirement. Because I know your guys' lifestyle, man. You're hard on your bodies, between training and all the PT.
Yeah, it lends itself to a very interesting dynamic, because like what you're talking about, the old school way, obviously tried and proven and true.
Yep.
Most of the time when you get a brand new, the guy that shows up day one and doesn't know shit, excuse my language.
Oh, you're good.
But this guy was probably like a platoon sergeant, or at least a buck sergeant, or an E5, whatever. You know what I mean? He was a soldier, and he had been being a soldier for quite some time. And then when you introduce, special forces training is hard and all these things, but it's not necessarily focused on making you a soldier.
Right.
It's focused on, can this person do it?
Yep.
I'm going to cram a whole bunch of things down their throat and expect them to do a lot of hard physical things and remember a lot of stuff. They have to have a brain, but there's not a lot of rank and file discipline, I guess.
Yeah.
So it's interesting. When you get to an ODA, it's a good thing that you have some of those traditional guys there, because especially for the new guys, in my experience anyways, they have a lot to offer in the form of just like, dude, this is just soldier stuff.
Yep.
Like level 10, and you need to be on like level 2 right now because you're in the same army that everybody else is.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's kind of cool.
Yeah, absolutely, man. So, how long were you in? How long did you stay in?
I stayed in 20 years. I got out January 1st, 2022.
Okay.
Was my retirement date.
Did you stay with 5th Group the whole time, or?
I did. I was there minus a 1 3-year stint, which you're still a part of 5th Group, but I was assigned to SWIC, the schoolhouse for us out in Fort Bragg, North Carolina. So the people that teach the students that come in. So I had a 3-year instructor tour from 2012, I believe, to 15. But the entirety of the rest of the time, I was at Fort Campbell.
Okay. Yeah, man. Campbell was
all that moving around like a lot of folks have to do, like every 3-4 years. And,
So I was in 3rd Battalion with the 160th, and I was out of Savannah, and I stayed with them for 10 years. But yeah, I know Campbell very well, man. That's where our little mock-up selection course they called Green Platoon.
Green Platoon,
was that?
Yeah.
What's that? I think we lost you. Are you back? All right.
Yep, back there we had a little glitch.
Yeah. What was you saying about Green Platoon?
Oh, I'm just saying I'm familiar with it. Yeah, I know a lot of
Yeah.
guys. I know a lot of guys from the couple battalions that are at Fort Campbell. Obviously, worked with y'all a lot.
Oh
in
yeah, yeah. I'm
my
sure.
career. So yeah,
I'm sure. You know, as we say, we are like a advanced Uber.
very advanced. Yeah, I think you're underselling it there. Yeah.
So, music, man, did that come from growing up, or is that something that came later?
Definitely later. It's anytime I'm like telling people my story on a podcast or whatever. I'm almost ashamed to say this because I feel like it lets people down, but it's just the truth. So I've always loved music.
Mm-hmm.
You know, country music. I've always loved it, and I like some rock and roll and some southern rock and stuff too. But hands down, you give me one genre, it's like, what kind of soda can you drink for the rest of your life? It's going to be a Pepsi.
Yeah.
What kind of music? It's going to be country music.
Okay.
So I just grew up loving music, but I wasn't around musicians. Didn't know how to play anything. I think it was my second deployment. I had returned. It was either right before it or after it. I can't remember, but I was at home, and I was like, and you know as well as I do, you do deployments and stuff, and yeah, you're working your tail off at times, but
Mm-hmm.
then like something to do.
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's a roller coaster.
I did
It's
it. Yeah. So I was like, I told my wife, I was like, I need to get a guitar just for something to pass the time. Like I want to be learning something.
Yeah.
And I loved music. So I did that probably 2006, 7, somewhere in there. Never learned hardly anything. 3 chords, probably 3, 4. Learned a couple songs, and it was pretty much like that for about 15 years. I would come home and I just like my guitar would have just like inches of dust on it. Not literally, but a lot of dust on it. I just didn't use the thing. And
Right.
no, certainly not aspiring to do anything. Every once in a while, I'd get the guitar out like in Afghanistan or Iraq or something and play a little bit for my buddies, you know, and I didn't know what the hell I was doing. And then fast forward to 2020, when it's like, okay, my getting ready to end. I do, but I was able to every time I do these work had and the retirement process, get my medical stuff straight and the litany of stuff that, you know, it's a long process. It takes a lot of time to get in there and see all the folks that you have to see to actually retire properly and to make sure you're getting the benefits that you've worked for. And so I spent a lot of time at home by myself while my wife was working, and I was you know, I was struggling a bit with it. It's not a terrible story or anything, but I felt like I don't even know what I'm going to do with my life. I come off a pretty big high on my last deployment, being in charge and some operations that we got to do that were like, you know, some of the biggest things our nation was doing at the time, and it was just an honor and privilege. And all of a sudden to nothing.
Yep. Your whole identity gets.
So one day, song for like 4 years. Sorry, one more time.
I said your whole identity just gets stripped from you, and it's like that for every soldier because you know you're based off your MOS, your rank, your position, your job, and everything else. And then when you walk away from that, you're back at the bottom, and you have nothing left to step up to. You know, it's a whole different atmosphere. So I get it, man. I do.
Yeah, and, you know, I give them. I think speaking for myself, definitely underutilized, but there are to get out in your last year or two. Take advantage of those, and I've got a lot of good spot. Their transition was smooth effort and utilizing those resources. In my For us, I'm a kind of a passion-based person.
Yeah. No, I absolutely.
So I
I
ended
get
up
that.
going to music.
Yeah. You know, I was kind of similar. I really wasn't a big music guy, but I always thought it was fascinating because you'd see one guy bring a guitar, and by the end of it, there's a whole bunch of guitars. You know, everybody's playing, and in their downtime, it becomes like a little band, you know, sitting out inside in front of the hooch. So it always fascinated me how the music would attract people. You know, people would stop and just sit and talk and everything else because they seen somebody playing a guitar or whatever, you know.
Absolutely, yeah.
So yeah, it was actually very
Yeah,
interesting.
yeah, of course, yeah.
And your story not too different, so you have nothing to be ashamed about because I can count. As a matter of fact, one of them was in the chat, Barbara Sim. There's a lot of artists that didn't start playing guitar until they started their music career. You know, that's when they started learning. Malachias, I don't know if you know him. He told me, he said, I'm still taking lessons because I can only play 2 of my songs, you know? So they're all, you know, everybody's out there playing the catch-up game, you know? The military is demanding, man. It takes 100% of your focus, and the unit that you're in takes probably 110, you know? Did we lose you?
Sure, and you know, there are some things that transit life to where, yeah, you've been trained. You might not necessarily realize doing stuff like that, but it translates to the civilian world. But
Yeah.
things like music, you know, and I'm sure there's a litany of other things. Like you're zero, you are literally starting at the bottom.
Yeah, absolutely, man.
You know, yours are mine internet, but I'm going to deal with this delay.
Yeah, that storm's really kicking y'all's butt, man.
Yeah.
Well, while we're to kind of pass some time, and let's throw one of your songs up, and then we'll talk about we'll get into where that song came from. So, the first song that I picked is "Bad Decisions," and this is by Derek Stoner.
Yeah. And unfortunately, it's about me. Like in my
bottle Bacardi
and all that
is
stuff.
the first thing that I see. I look out the window and back in the shadows. I don't want the world to see.
And you know, I went totally good.
So busy running.
Looking back on it, I'm like, I think
from reality.
I kind of thought that I was like some kind of a warlord. Just my personal life was wrong. Choices that I was making. Stupid. You know, they were just bad. I made a lot of bad decisions, and hence the name of the song. And we sat down when I had the idea and had some stuff to it, and I was like, you know, it was my way of kind of like saying something like that, and that's what happened.
I actually was in that same scenario. You know, I made a lot of bad decisions, you know, so I think a lot of people can relate to it. So
Really?
why don't we, yep, absolutely. I'm going to go ahead and play it for everybody and let everybody hear what we've been talking about.
Bad decisions, they're clouding my vision.
Be right back.
Upside down, it's 1:45 and then comes the sunlight. Right before I shut it down, I'm running on empty, and so is my whiskey. Lord, I'm nowhere bound. I'm making bad decisions. upside down. It's a quarter to midnight, and then comes the sunlight right before I shut it down. I'm running on empty, and so is my whiskey. Lord, I'm nowhere bound. I'm making bad decisions. I'm making bad decisions. I can't go back, I can't retrace all of those things that made me this way. I should have held her, but I didn't tell her I was gonna be this way. Bad decisions to cloud my vision, turning life upside down. It's a quarter to midnight, and then comes the sunlight right before I shut it down. I'm running on empty, and so is my whiskey. Lord, I'm nowhere bound. I'm making bad decisions. I'm making bad decisions. Damn these bad decisions.
Still got me, Don?
Yeah, I got you, man. So that was Bad Decisions by Derek Stoner.
Okay.
So let me ask you a question, man. When you sit down to write, I've had kind of like a 50-50 mixed bag of people with some songs. They say, man, I worked on that for months because I just could not get it right. And then I get the other half that's like, no, man, I came up with this idea and I sat down and 35 minutes after I got off the toilet, I had the song wrote, you know? So where did this song fit in at that? Because it reflected some of your decisions. So was it easy to write, or did you struggle with it?
Well, I caught half of that. So yeah, with this song, there are songs that obviously give me a tussle, but this was not one of them.
Yeah.
This thing was like, bam, and it just fell together. And I all the songs that I've written and released, anyways, are. It's not like you're trying to make up a fictional story,
Right.
So, but it's just, I don't know. I think you just got to be in the right mental space while you're writing about a certain topic, and I find those to be the quicker ones. But
Yeah.
like sometimes if you decide like, okay, I want to write about this section of my life, but you're a little bit detached from it at the time for whatever reason, now that can be more challenging for me.
Yeah. No, I get that. And you know,
Because you're like uncovering some old stuff.
yeah, absolutely. And you know, the other thing too, and that's one thing I like about this radio station, is because we've really got a lot of inspiring artists that are writing true stories. They're writing their feelings and how they felt, and 90% of them have wrote that song and are performing that song. And it's not like some of the big name people where they're paying people to write a song and then they're singing about that person's feelings or whatever. And I think there's a disconnect with some of those artists compared to you guys, because obviously the name and my following is mostly military. So many people can relate to your guys' music, you know, not that everything's about military, but even the dark humor that, you know, military guys tend to have, can relate to some of those stories, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. I agree.
You know, and I think that's important.
And you know, that's the thing that I think that's into the business, the business. It's huge. To me, it's everything. experience that I had, but make it to where you feel something on a unique experience that you had yourself. And those are the songs as listeners.
Yeah. No, absolutely.
That make you feel a certain way, I believe. But yeah, and so there is a huge disconnect on that. If you start, somebody writes a hit song and it's and then you just give it to whoever because you're like, well, their voice will do this right, and they're at the right moment. They need a single, blah blah blah, whatever it is, and they put it out. Of course, it does a lot of good things, but it doesn't necessarily get to the intimate.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Because I can give you a good example of that. So, Jelly Roll, his album that he came up with, and most of his songs, when he first came out, I didn't really care for him. I really didn't. I didn't. Nothing caught my attention. I didn't relate to nothing of it. And then I heard about his story. I actually just watched an interview of him talking about his life and his story. And after listening to his story, now I have became a fan. I do like a lot of his music, even songs I really didn't like for when I heard it. But it's now because I can relate it to something. And even though he didn't write those songs, they do kind of relate to his life story when he talks about how he grew up and the things that he went through. So I think that's the example, exactly like what we're talking about, just to hear him sing it.
There are also,
I'm sorry, what was you saying?
yeah, and there are also, sorry, this connection is just being a bummer right now.
Yeah, that storm
there's
was
also
pretty massive.
situations like for some of the bigger artists where, because there's Jelly Roll, specifically Nashville area.
Yep.
Some of these guys can tell their story and then rely on the story into song, So I think that happens sometimes as well. So it's still very personal, even though they didn't themselves write it.
Yeah, absolutely.
They just, it's kind of like writing a book, right? Needing an editor and an author and all this stuff. You're telling your story, but you don't know how to write a book. So
yep,
it requires the help of others sometimes.
Yeah, absolutely. And like I said, after hearing his story, you see where that passion does come from and how it related to him, even though, like I said, he didn't physically write it, it was still, he had to have had something to do with it as far as the outline and the way it went, because when you hear his interviews, it does kind of line up with his life,
Yeah, 100%. And then and also I would add, it comes through with the vocals, the performance. People, we're not as dumb as we look all the time. People have senses, and you can feel that. You can feel if somebody's faking.
Yep.
And,
yeah.
I think that is one of the things that makes him genuine and why people flock to hear him.
Yep. Yeah. That's what, like I said, after hearing his life story, that's what, brought me in, and I became a huge fan since then. I think in the Army, what we call that is a PX cowboy, the guy that didn't know where he fit in, but he met a lot of country guys. So he went to the PX and bought a cowboy hat, and now he's country too.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. He's definitely non-traditional, but there's a lot, I think right now the market's definitely open to that. It's almost a bad thing if you're traditional, which I wouldn't even call myself traditional country. That's the music that I love, but it's not what comes out of me when I write for whatever reason. So I embrace it.
Yeah.
But it's hard, I think, really hard for the traditional guys. I think maybe Cody Johnson would be one of the best examples of somebody that overcame it, but a lot don't, that are really great. And they sing the old, well, I call it old, in the 90s style of country music, which sounds amazing to me and just makes wonderful music.
Yeah.
But it's like that Nashville doesn't want to hear it right now. So,
well, I'm going to tell you, when that guy that I was telling you about before the show that liked the song Sand, that's exactly what he described he liked, was the older real country,
Yeah.
when he said he heard your song. I wish I could remember what song was actually even playing when he heard it, but he goes, he said, yeah, that's what I really like. And I kind of chuckled because, I know, everybody on my radio station's not from that era, they're not all the way back to Waylon and Johnny Cash and stuff like that. But when he came back the next day, he became a Derek Stoner fan, so
That's cool. Glad to have him. Yeah.
absolutely, man. And I know I've told you, but this guy right here, that Brian Roof, he's one of our DJs, and he runs the Every Day's a Saturday podcast.
Okay.
On Monday and Wednesday from 12 to 3 Central. It's basically the Derek Stoner channel.
That's awesome.
He is a huge
Please
fan.
give him a shout out for me if he's not watching. Yeah.
I'm sure he is. I am sure he is. So
Thanks, bro.
yeah. Yep. He makes sure that he votes and everything on the top 20 and everything, man. And he even tells everybody, I'm the one that voted for him. Yep, that's me.
That's awesome.
Yeah, man. So, I think it's cool because at this platform, people get to know the backstory, not just a 30-second interview.
Right. Love you too, man. I see that. Yeah.
But so yeah, you get some of the big press and you don't get that connection, and that's what I love about what we're doing is you get that connection. You get to know where these artists are coming from, and so I think that's awesome. Let's get into Sand, man. So where did that song come from?
Yeah. Well, I was trying to finish up my an EP, the only EP I've ever done. I'm currently working on an album now that I just can't wait to put out. But back to Sand, and I was kind of searching for a more sentimental song that wasn't military related, because I don't want all my music just to be like you got to be a veteran to listen to it. You know what I mean? I love singing that stuff, but I want to broaden. I want to be able to sing to a lot of different folks.
Of course.
So at that time, one of my close family members were going through like a bad divorce, kids involved. The same story that everybody's had contact. It's either happened to them or somebody in their family. One of those things that was just a bad situation, and I thought, well, I can definitely relate to that because the stuff almost happened to me before, also because of my own bad decisions, like you played earlier. So that's and I wanted to kind of send it out to the my family member as kind of like I don't know, like to give her a little bit of like, we're with you. We understand. We understand what's going on. And I really wasn't ever going to release it. I just wrote it for her. And I don't know. I just got talked into releasing it by several people, and because I played it a few times out and stuff like that at live shows. And I'm always surprised. To me, it's not. It's one of my least favorite ones. I hate that I've done, but I realize, when people are coming up to you and saying, I love that song, I mean, that's undeniable because that's all, that's what it's about.
Yeah.
It doesn't really matter what I think of it. I mean, I of course I don't not like it. I like the song. I would have written it, but it's just on the chart of things I've done. It doesn't rank very high, but it's powerful once again when it touches somebody.
Yeah.
So from that regards, I'm proud that we did the song.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know we were talking about Jelly Roll, but one thing he said was, every song you do, every song you record, every album you record, there's a favorite moment that the artist loves in that song, whether that song is its favorite, but there's that one vocal part that they just love doing that part, and then you'll have a favorite part in the whole album that you just love doing. So I get what you're saying. It's not that you hated the song. It's just there's other songs that you enjoyed singing more, and probably the vocals or whatever, Yeah.
And then all that depends on your mood and what, there's just crazy thing, They're all bangers. Thanks, man.
Well, I'm going to tell you, if you look outside and there's a guy hiding in your bushes, you might be careful.
worries.
I think you're safe though. He has a long drive to get to. He's in California, so.
Oh, right on.
But so yeah, so let's play Sand real quick, and I think that storm's kind of passing because your connection and everything's gotten really good. So
Knock on wood here.
I probably just jinxed it, but we'll go ahead and play Sand, and if the connection stays good, and if you want to play a song or two, let people hear, then we'll go for it, man.
Okay, sure, yeah.
All right, here's Sand by Derek Stoner.
There's a new moon that is rising, casting light on a wounded soul. It pulls the waves of deception past the break into waters unknown. You told me that you love me and would never let me down. If you love me, why'd you leave me there all alone to drown? Your words are so confusing. Can't you tell me where I stand? Will you pull me from the waters or let me wash away like sand, away like sand? As I look into their faces, I see the hurt, the pain, and the lies. So just how are you gonna replace them? There's so much love in their crying eyes. You told me that you love me and would never let me down. If you love me, why'd you leave me there all alone to drown? Your words are so confusing. Can't you tell me where I stand? Will you pull us from the waters or let us wash away like sand, away like sand? Away like sand. You told me that you loved me and would never let me down. If you loved me, why'd you leave me there all alone to drown? Your words are so confusing. Can't you tell me where I stand? Will you pull us from the waters or let us wash away like sand, away like sand?
All right, man. That is awesome, dude. I now see why he relates to it, man. Knowing the person that came to me, I get it, man.
Cool. Probably had something similar in his life, I would imagine.
Absolutely.
Unfortunately,
absolutely,
but yeah,
man.
Those are some of the best songs, I think. It's just heartbreakers,
Yeah.
Especially being a country music fan like I am.
Yeah, and like I said, that bond with the audience, especially when you're performing live, is important. If you can't make that connection, it's going to be a long show.
Sure. Yeah. That's absolutely true. No doubt about it.
So absolutely, man. Well, what would you like to play for everybody, man?
Well, let me start out with "Break the Chain," and I saw. I think I saw Will to Survive pop up down
Yeah,
there.
that was Brian, but
I can do that. He's not going to let my pipes rest at all. So either way, I'll be happy to sing it.
all right, man.
This song "Break the Chain" is it's on that EP as well, and it's one of the first songs that I released. But basically, it's just trying to address the fact of I was going through retirement, and then looking back and seeing it's easy for all of us to kind of we look at ourselves because we are ourselves and see the things that are happening to us or the things that we've been through. Sometimes it's easy to forget how that's affecting your family and other people. So that's really what the song's about. It's called Break the Chain. Wind on the airfield and dries your tears. Living alone now for so many years. Mountains of memories and valleys of pain. I think it's time to break the chain. We're gonna break the chain, throw it on the ground. We're gonna break the chain that's holding us down. We're gonna break the chain, toss it out to sea, yeah. We're gonna break the chain, now it's you and me. We're gonna break the chain. Losses are real and the time is gone. Too many nights spent away from home. Lord, I hope it hasn't been in vain. I think it's time to break the chain. We're gonna break the chain, throw it on the ground. We're gonna break the chain that's holding us down. We're gonna break the chain, toss it out to sea, yeah. We're gonna break the chain, now it's you and me. We're gonna break the chain. Well, there's a light at the end we can step in. Baby, you can start to see. We're gonna break the chain. Oh, yeah. Break the chain. We're gonna break the chain, throw it on the ground. We're gonna break the chain, it ain't gonna hold us down. No, we're gonna break the chain, toss it out to sea, yeah. We're gonna break the chain, now it's you and me. We're gonna break the chain. Whoa, 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 whoa. Break the chain.
Man. So far in the chat, I have seen, wow, such a voice. Whoops, wrong one. Wow, such a voice. Sounds like Luke Bryan. And then,
Thanks, Allie.
and then we got Brian over here that says, and this is live, and he sounds badass. This guy can sing, man. I think you're getting a following, man.
That's awesome. Yeah.
You know,
I love it. I love it. You know, meeting folks and just it was hard to come out of a shell. I think a lot of veterans deal with
oh
that,
yeah,
and but I'm glad I did,
yeah,
and I have nobody to thank for that other than folks that are supportive and reciprocate communication and encouragement and
yeah.
just all those things. It's wonderful.
You know, I've had a couple veteran comedians that came on too, and it just baffles me, man. You know, when they talk about their military side and the problems they're going through, and then they can get up on that stage and it's like it's gone and just flow and start talking. You know, and
Sure.
I'm thinking, you know, I celebrate a day of coming out of Walmart without being pissed off at somebody.
Well, that's an achievement, man. I don't even go to Walmart still to this day. You can ask my wife. God is my witness. I'll
Yeah,
go to the parking lot and wait for her.
yep, I'm the same way. I hate it. I can't stand it. And but yeah, so you know, to be able to get on a stage in front of a bunch of people, man, I would need the whole bottle of Four Roses that I'm drinking on now. So you know,
Yeah. That's
I
kind of
just
how I started. I would get pretty lean, pretty sauced up to get
yeah,
the liquid courage going, and it just gets easier. It's like anything else,
repetition.
Sure.
You know, that's what Guy says too with Operation Encore when he's talking about young artists. He said they just got to get out there and just keep gigging and just keep doing it, and it becomes repetition. You know, get them under your belt and just keep going. So
Yep.
yeah, I completely get that, man. You know, where all where all have you been gigging? Have you been doing tours or anything like that?
I wouldn't call it tours per se, not as much as I'd want to, but I play. So weekly, I've been playing in Nashville weekly, pretty much nonstop for the last year.
Okay.
So that's a lot of shows.
Yeah.
And then on the weekends and stuff, I just got back from New York a couple of days ago and played a veteran festival up there in upstate New York. And, I've been to several different states at this point.
That's
And
good, man.
but yeah, not as much as I would like, but it just takes time to, uh, get people
Right.
to follow you. And
Yeah.
it all comes down to money at the end of the day. I do
Absolutely.
as much charity stuff as I possibly can. And I love to do it. My favorite folks to sing for are veterans,
Yeah.
but we all have to still pay our bills and stuff.
Yep.
So that's kind of the
Yeah.
balancing act.
You know, no, it wasn't charity for you to get there. You know, that gas wasn't free and the
Right.
everything
Yeah.
else, you know. So absolutely. I completely get it, you know, and that's one thing I love about Hero Stock. We was talking about that before the show, you know, and that's another goal of his is to take these artists and provide more opportunities for them to get paid to do events, you know.
Yeah.
And I think that's an amazing accomplishment. He's got a big feat on his hands, you know. I'd hate to be in his shoes because it's going to be a challenge, but I think that would be awesome, man.
It's great, and I can't. I have to mention Operation Encore, who I'm just a new member of. We both got the hats on right now. You mentioned them earlier in your broadcast, a sponsor for the Gunroom Radio. They helped me out with a couple songs on my upcoming album, and they do. That's what they're all about,
Yep.
And it's just amazing. It's just it shows their heart, and their passion for things because they get nothing out of it.
Nothing.
They get the joy of helping a veteran.
Yeah.
And
you take Guy isn't even a veteran. You know, he never served.
Right.
And you talk to him and I can tell you there's probably not anybody more passionate about Operation Encore and their mission. You know, he is out there for you guys trying to find gigs and events and partnerships and everything. And I think that is awesome. That was one of the reasons why I kind of, Scotty Hastings is the one that told me about Operation Encore. I didn't even know anything about him. And he gave me Guy's information and I fell in love with that organization since then. So you're right. They're doing awesome stuff and helping veterans. And like you said, they're not getting anything out of it other than just, the self-healing and enjoyment of being able to help others,
Yeah, which is huge, because I think I'll speak for myself. that's a large portion of why I play music.
I get that.
It's like therapy. And when you realize that something that you're using as therapy for yourself can also be utilized by others
Yep.
as therapy for them, it's very fulfilling.
You know, that's where this podcast came from, you know, and I tell everybody, and I mean, I don't care if one person's watching or 10,000, because, you know, the podcast turned into therapy for myself. You know, I was not a fan of the go sit on the couch and talk to a VA person, but for some reason, the veterans that I've had on here and everything else over the years has helped me open up to a lot of the stuff that I never really talked about. So I get that completely, you know. It's healing, and people say they're enjoying it and getting stuff out of it, and I think that's awesome. So I get it, man.
Yeah.
You know, and that's, you know, a lot of these 501(c)s, well, I'll tell you that too. You know, helping others is therapy in itself. You know, the more you help others, the more it comes back to you. And you know, I believe that. I believe that wholeheartedly.
It's like that old saying, it's better to give than receive. It's just true.
Yep. 100 times over, man. Absolutely. Yeah. You know, and I do get it too. If you look at the music industry, the generation has changed, you know, all the pros, you know, like BMI and ASCAP and that, they were an important asset to have back when CDs were a thing, you know. And now that industry has really changed and has made it, everybody's like, well, now it's easier for them to get known. They can just use TikTok and all the social media. But now, if you're not
like quadruple the size, that's not even the right term. It's like many more people.
Yeah. And on top of that, you're not getting paid for any of that stuff. There's nobody buying a CD now. You're making, because I know what the royalties are that I pay, and it's an embarrassment, you know, that you guys are getting less than a penny per song, and some of the Spotify, there's loopholes that they don't even pay for the song that they do play, you know. So, you know, unless you guys are getting tickets and selling tickets and gigs and stuff like that, you know, then their steak is not in the fridge yet, you know. So
no, absolutely not. That's really the only way you can make it, live music merchandise.
Yeah.
At least at the level that I'm at.
No, you are absolutely right, man.
I'm sure it all changes, and I'm hoping to find out when you get something on radio, when you get on nationwide radio.
Yeah.
Sure, that's a nice jump, but yeah, there's not that many avenues.
No, and it's stepping stones, you know. That's kind of the way, you know, I look at it, and Operation Encore looks at it. You know, they help people get to like, what is it? It's Warriors Week coming up with Zach Brown's Southern Camp.
Southern Ground. Yeah.
Yep. So I mean, that's another stepping stone in a career, you know, to help get you known and get seen and people talking about you, and you know, you get played on Gunroom Radio, and who knows, man? You never know who's listening to it, because I found out after the fact that, you know, some of the artists that had not gone through Operation Encore, Guy reached out to them and invited them to apply for Camp Southern Ground, you know, and he heard it on the radio station. So, you know, if that could happen, who knows, man? Maybe one day you get invited to be playing on Sirius XM's The Highway, you know.
Yeah.
For theirs, and that's what it takes, man, is repetition and getting out there and people hearing it and people talking about it. So I think that's a big thing that a lot of people that aren't part of the music industry, they just don't understand. You know, they just hit the play button on Spotify and it's a great tune and it was free for them and they enjoyed it, but they don't think about the business side, the behind the scenes stuff, you know.
Yeah, the bullets and the beans, yeah. And you know, it's a necessity, I guess. A dream is a wonderful thing to have, but there's also running neck and neck with your dream as reality. So you know, but that's something that we all have to deal with, and no matter what we're doing, whether you're starting a small business or anything like that, you know, or you want to play music for folks.
Yeah, absolutely.
It all takes a risk and a hell of a lot of hard work and dedication.
Yep. Yep, absolutely. And when you hear the word no, don't take it personal, because it wasn't that they didn't like you, they just didn't like that song, So
You're going to hear no so many times.
yep, yep, absolutely, man. So I've been putting your link tree down here. Where else can they find out about Derek Stoner and where you're going and everything else?
Sure. Yeah, you can go to derekstonermusic.com.
Okay.
And I keep a fairly updated schedule, sometimes not too far out, but a fairly updated schedule there, especially if you're ever in the Nashville area and you would like to attend something I'm playing at. You got a real good chance of finding me there.
Okay.
You can find me on YouTube, Derek Stoner Music, Instagram, Derek Stoner Music, Facebook, Derek Stoner Music. On all streaming platforms, you can find, I believe I have 9 or 10 songs on there right now. And in the coming months, I'm going to have an album being released. I'm going to have a couple singles before that, probably about a month out right now on a single that I'm pretty excited about playing. And actually, if you want me to play another song later, I'll probably play that song for you because it's military as get out. And I just love the song.
I would be honored, man. Go for it.
You want me to do it now?
Yeah, go ahead, man. Awesome.
Cool. So briefly, the story behind this song, we already talked, I was a special forces guy. Well, I really liked a group called Whiskey Myers. I'm sure you're familiar with them. Love the music that they put out, a lot of it. And a few years ago, they put out a song called Frogman.
Okay.
In honor of the Navy SEALs.
Mm-hmm.
And I've worked with a bunch of SEALs in my career, and I love those guys. But I was like, yeah, that's cool for the Navy SEALs, but what about us SF guys or Green Berets? And we do have the Ballad of the Green Beret. That's a post-Vietnam song by a Green Beret himself named Barry Sadler. But I was like, we're going to need to update this. So I wrote a song for SF specifically, but it really goes out to all special ops folks and the stuff that they do on the day-to-day basis. And, now that I'm a civilian, I really appreciate that stuff because I got friends that don't holler at me from overseas right now. And I'm like, man, I know where you're at. I know you're probably sucking right now. And I'm just, thank you, man. Because I'm at home, I'm watching like Seinfeld or something,
Yeah.
In AC. So it feels good. This song's called Bad Man Finder. I've got salt rings on my sleeves. This desert heat makes it hard to breathe. I wake up when the sun goes down. Gotta prep these tools of the trade. My guns are oiled and I got my blade. Gonna bring old glory into your house. You better run and you better hide. We don't knock before we come inside. You can say goodbye to all your friends and forget about the world you've been living in. I'm a bad man finder. Bad man finder. Dark cloud fills the air as the ships of the sky, they're coming down to bear. My feet hit the ground, I'm running, I'm gunning for you. Lasers light up the night, the flash of a muzzle, it's a firefight. 3, 2, 1, boom, let the party begin. You better run and you better hide. We don't knock before we come inside. You can say goodbye to all your friends and forget about the world you've been living in. I'm a bad man finder. Bad man finder now. I'm a bad man finder. Bad man finder. Bad man finder now. I'm a bad man finder. But that goes out to all the folks out there doing the hard work.
Absolutely, man. That is awesome.
Thanks.
You say that's going to be on your new album?
It is. It's actually going to be the next single I release in about a month.
Awesome.
It's pretty much done. We have some production stuff that's being done on it down in the studio in Nashville, but it's all recorded. I just got to get it mixed up right and all that stuff. But,
that is awesome, man. Well, if you don't mind, when you go to release it, we're gonna have to have you back on and do like a little release promotion, man.
Yeah, I'd be honored to do that. Yeah,
absolutely. We can do it on the radio station and we can do it on here, or either or. Don't matter, man. Just help you get the word out there, because dude, that was an awesome song, man. I loved it.
Thanks, I appreciate it.
Yeah,
I love singing it. It's a cool one. And we were talking earlier. We had some internet connection issues there when you were talking about, like, sometimes a song comes easy, sometimes it's like freaking, I don't know, pulling teeth or something, pulling teeth, I guess. But that one is the shortest song that I ever wrote. I think it took me like 15 minutes. It was just like, bam. It's like, yep, that's what I want to say on that one. So,
well, I'm gonna tell you, you're gonna have a bunch of people that can relate to that.
That's cool. That's what I hope.
I am pretty sure that will be in our top 20, because
awesome. I hope. Yeah.
Just knowing our listener base, I can just imagine. So I don't think you'll have to worry about that too much.
Cool.
But so yeah, man, when you go to bring out your new album and everything else, man, we'll have you back on. We'll do a little promotion for you. I'm sure you're going to be doing your own stuff, so after it settles down, then we'll have you on and bring you out and talk, man. If you're ever doing anything that you need help promoting or whatever, man, send it over to me, tag me in it in case I don't see it, and I will share the shit out of it. We'll talk about it on the radio station for you, and just hopefully get more people aware of where you're going to be and events that are coming up and so forth, man. So
thank you very much. I really appreciate that.
Yeah, man, that's what we're doing. And every one of us, even, Brian over here, when he's not stalking you, he enjoys being a DJ, and, it's just became another family, man. So I love it. And
that's awesome.
I think good stuff's coming from it. So, well, brother, I'm going to go ahead and we're going to end this. If you don't mind holding on, we'll throw our little exit in, and then we'll chat for a few minutes after we go off. All right.
Okay. Yeah. Awesome.
All right,
thanks for having me, man.
Yep. No issue, man. You guys take care, and make sure you tune in every Wednesday and Friday.